involve wrestling. It's just for some reason it's a demented form of entertainment. I really don't know. We want to talk a little bit about Stone Cold Steve Austin. By the way, if you want to hop in, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It's a toll-free call. We pick up the tab. A little bit about Stone Cold Steve Austin, that situation for those of you that have not been following the story. Apparently, Stone Cold Steve Austin has not been very happy recently with the direction of the World Wrestling Federation. What this all stems from is going into WrestleMania. The original plan was for the NWO to get involved and attack Stone Cold Steve Austin during his match at WrestleMania. That would then, and the attack would have been mandated by Vince McMahon. That was what was going to lead to the split in the rosters. By Vince McMahon having that attack on Stone Cold Steve Austin, that was going to be justification for the board of directors to demand the split. Apparently at WrestleMania, Scott Hall showed up being Scott Hall, i.e., he was being either drunk, not drunk, I don't think that was the case, but just being egotistical, not in shape, that kind of thing. And basically Steve said, you know what, I don't want to feud with the NWO anymore, we're ending it tonight, I'm getting the win with the stunner, we're ending the feud, it's over. He got his way. Then he went home to Texas. He did not appear on Raw the night after WrestleMania like he was scheduled to, nor was he at SmackDown. Everybody thought that Steve was going to be at Raw this past Monday when they had their brand extension draft, and he was slated to be the #1 pick on Ric Flair's Raw team. Stone Cold Steve Austin did not show up. Now, apparently, Steve is scheduled to be at Raw this coming Monday. He was announced last night on SmackDown as returning to the WWF this coming Monday. You saw this last week, they announced that Steve Austin was a free agent, therefore he was unable to be drafted. They made that stipulation up so that they could explain why he was not there, and also to talk to him further to find out what they need to do to smooth things over. Put yourself in Stone Cold Steve Austin's shoes for a minute. Some of you out there are saying, look, Steve's under contract, Vince should kick him in the butt and get him back in there, or they should fire him. Well, granted, I understand where you're coming from on that, but let's take a look at Stone Cold Steve Austin's situation here for a minute. Back in 1996, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall left the World Wrestling Federation to go to WCW, the organization that fired Steve Austin. WCW was dominating the World Wrestling Federation in ratings. There was rumors that the World Wrestling Federation was going to go bankrupt, that they were losing their sponsorship, that USA Network was going to cancel them. And then all of a sudden, the World Wrestling Federation latched on to two things: Austin 316 and Austin versus McMahon. And because of those two things, the World Wrestling Federation was able to turn its fortune around and become the dominant company, eventually having so much success and destroying WCW to the point that they were able to buy WCW. During this time, there were no problems in the locker room. The cancer, if you want to use that harsh of a term, that was Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and the way the Clique ran things was gone. Vince McMahon had control of the locker room. Austin was the #1 guy. He was able to do what nobody thought was possible and bring the World Wrestling Federation to the prominence that it now has. During that time, he suffered career-threatening injuries, had surgery. We all know that story. Now, Vince McMahon, after buying WCW and after Kevin Nash and Scott Hall's contract becomes available, he decides to bring in Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and the New World Order. A lot of concern. Were they going to be the same kind of locker room division, and that's not the right term, locker room cancers as they were in WCW and also during their previous stint in the World Wrestling Federation? They were told, no. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, the New World Order, they're going to have to abide by the same rules as everybody else. Well, clearly, that's not been the case. First weekend in, Scott Hall's found down in the hotel bar, being a jerk, being obnoxious, coming off rudely to a number of wrestlers. Kevin Nash has showed up late numerous times, has really not been in shape to wrestle, and now we see going into WrestleMania that Scott Hall was not in shape for his match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin is upset. He feels like, I busted my butt these last 6 years to get us to be the #1 company. These guys left us, and now they're able to stroll right back in here, throw their weight around like they're big shots when they didn't do anything to turn this company around. Heck, whenever they left, we were already on the downward spiral anyway, so they really didn't do anything while they were here. It's very easy to see why Stone Cold Steve Austin would be upset by this. So we want to get your thoughts on that too. Our toll-free number again is 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. Now, Stone Cold Steve Austin is being advertised for house shows this weekend in Florida and he is slated to be the number one guy on these house shows. He's in the main event, and now there's severe questions about whether or not he is going to appear at those. The World Wrestling Federation has not officially come out yet and said he will not appear, although this is something they've done in the past whenever someone of that stature, whenever The Rock or a Triple H or whatever would not be appearing at a show, they would always let everybody know ahead of time that, hey, this guy's not going to be there, which you have to commend them for. That's great. Be interesting in this case to see whether or not they're going to pull the old card is subject to change, and that's how they'll explain Steve Austin's absence. There's a house show actually tonight, and if we find out something before we get off the air, I'll pass it along to you. But again, should be very interesting to see what happens next week. My guess is that Steve Austin in some way is going to end up on the Raw roster. With The Rock, with Kurt Angle, with Hulk Hogan, and with Chris Jericho all on SmackDown, Raw needs a little more star power than The Undertaker, Kane, and the New World Order. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We'll follow that for you. Don't forget, for the latest wrestling news 24/7, call the Wrestling Guys hotline, 937-285-0991. Go back to the phone lines. We have the Undertaker guy. You're on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right. How about you, man?
Well, I was doing good till that cockroach crawled with the same dull act he's had for 5 years.
No. Guy's always fresh. What's up, man?
Okay, yeah. Do you think the draft's good? I don't think it is.
Good in what sense?
Well, I think it's going to get tiresome after a while. I think, they should keep them all together.
Well, give them credit because it does two things. A, it's something new, and I can understand that. It also gives more people an opportunity to show up on television. I mean, with one show and with one storyline dominating both programs, it's very tough to. There's no way you can get everybody involved. Now you're going to be able to we're going to see some of the developmental guys. We're going to see Tommy Dreamer more. We're going to see Stevie Richards more. We're going to see D'Lo Brown more. So it'll give an opportunity for some guys you haven't seen for some time to get their face on TV and to see what they can do.
Yeah, in that situation with Steve Austin, anybody else say anything like the guys that's been backstage about hauling ash and throwing their weight around besides Austin like the other guys?
Yes. Well, keep in mind, nobody else in that company, well, I shouldn't say nobody else, but there's very few people who can throw their weight around with the same meaning as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Undertaker has some say about it since he's been there so long. I mean,
absolutely, Undertaker would have some say about it. Why he doesn't, I don't know. But this is Steve Austin's stance on things, and that's his belief, and he's doing what he feels is right. But there are a lot of people in the World Wrestling Federation that are not going to speak up, that feel the same way. And there's also some concern about this Undertaker guy, that there's people that are saying that Triple H is once again becoming chummy with Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, and we all know, of course, that Triple H, who he's dating, is Stephanie McMahon Helmsley, and she's in charge of the writing team, so that maybe the New World Order has even more clout than before, because now they have a direct connection to the person in charge of the booking team, who's also the boss's daughter.
It's like on Raw, you already can see what's going to happen on Raw already. You're going to see Kane and The Undertaker against the NWO. That's coming. You already can see that a mile off.
We'll see.
And another thing is, I just think the NWO ain't been nothing. I mean, I think it's really been a flop.
Well, I think that, the one thing that's been successful in this is Hulk Hogan, and it's only because they turned him. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and I said this when they were coming in, they're in their early 40s. They're not there because they're great wrestlers. They're there because they're big names, and people will tune in to see what they can do. I didn't think that there was much gas left in the tank after WrestleMania. I still think that Scott Hall's a good worker, but there's so many issues with Scott Hall outside of the ring that you got to wonder how long he's going to be able to stick around and behave himself.
And how did you think The Undertaker looked against Flair in that WrestleMania? I thought he looked pretty good for
you know what? I thought that match was the match of the night. And granted, some people say, well, it was slow, it was boring. To me, it wasn't. Granted, Ric Flair's not going to be able to do a Hurricanrana, and The Undertaker's not going to do a split-legged moonsault. But what they were able to do was tell their story. They used the psychology they showed the psychology of two guys who knew what they were doing in the ring.
And the superplex was a good move.
Absolutely. It was a great match. It was a great match. There's more to wrestling than tables and chairs and moonsaults and everything else. It was an old-school style match, and I thought it worked out great.
Okay, and that's it. And to all the people out there, I know you love me. Bye.
All right, Undertaker guy, thanks for the call. 866-910-WPFB. I'm late for news. Call in. We'll talk to you when we come back from news. This is the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Do you know where your news is?
On 910 WPFB, the Middletown News Authority.
WPFB. Back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn. The KFC manager doesn't know exactly which 11 herbs and spices are allowed and which ones aren't. So anyway, she'll have to go back for training after like 7 to 10 years. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back into the swing of things. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732 is our telephone number. A lot of people are asking about the rosters because you got to see the first 10 picks for each side Monday night on Raw, and then afterwards they finished up the draft on WWF.com. People wondering who's on which roster. Here's the complete roster for SmackDown and for Raw. On SmackDown, the roster looks like this. The Rock, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Hulk Hogan, Billy and Chuck, Edge, Rikishi, Devon Dudley, Mark Henry, Maven, Billy Kidman, Tajiri, Chris Jericho, Ivory, Albert, Hurricane Helms, Al Snow, Lance Storm, Diamond Dallas Page, Tori Wilson, Scotty 2 Hotty, Stacy Keibler, Christian, Tess, Farouk, Taz, Hardcore Holly, the Big Val Boski, Val Venus, and Perry Saturn. That is the SmackDown roster. For Raw, The Undertaker, all 3 members of the New World Order, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and X-Pac, Kane, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, The Big Show, Bubba Ray Dudley, Brock Lesnar, William Regal, Lita, Bradshaw, Stevie Richards, Matt Hardy, Raven, Jeff Hardy, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, Spike Dudley, D'Lo Brown, Sean Stasiak, Terry Runnels, Jacqueline, Goldust, Trish Stratus, Just Incredible, Big Boss Man, Tommy Dreamer, Crash Holly, and Mighty Molly. Now, a few questions still linger. First of all, Stone Cold Steve Austin's a free agent. We just talked about that. What side is he going to end up on? We'll find out more this coming Monday. Also, Triple H and Jazz, the World Wrestling Federation champion and the women's champion, respectively. It's not really clear what's going to happen when they lose their championship. For example, if The Rock defeats Triple H for the title, does Triple H immediately go to the SmackDown roster since that's the side that beat him for the title, or does he become a free agent? That's a question that still needs to be decided. Also looking at this, the tag team champions are on SmackDown, Billy and Chuck. The Intercontinental champion, Rob Van Dam, is on Raw. So does that mean that the Intercontinental Championship will not be defended on SmackDown and the tag team titles will not be defended on Raw? Those are questions that still need to be asked. Also, looking at a few other questions, the APA split up. The Dudley Boys are split up. Are they going to continue to use those guys as singles wrestlers? Are they going to try and pair them off in some other kind of tag team? Are they going to make a trade so that the APA and the Dudley Boys will be reunited? That still needs to be determined as well. So the draft still has a lot of questions that maybe the World Wrestling Federation still doesn't have answers for, but hopefully between now and we get up to the next pay-per-view with Backlash, we'll find out more. Stephanie McMahon is going to be off of television for a while. This past Monday night, she and Chris Jericho lost to Triple H in a handicap match that had the stipulation if Jericho lost, then she would be gone from the World Wrestling Federation. Now, don't think for a second that Stephanie is going to be gone permanently from the World Wrestling Federation. Stephanie is in charge of the booking committee and the writing team. Now she has 2 different programs to write for, so plus her character is getting a little bit stale. There's a lot of backlash from the internet and wrestling fans that they were tired of seeing her so much. So she's going to take some time off, but rest assured, probably, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks at the most, and Stephanie McMahon will be back in front of the camera for the World Wrestling Federation. Interesting about Brock Lesnar, your comments about that. A lot of people are very impressed with Brock Lesnar, formerly of Ohio Valley Wrestling. He's been in the developmental program for just under 2 years. Former NCAA wrestling champion, now under the guidance of Paul Heyman. He's going to be a part of the Raw roster, but what he did to Rikishi this last Monday night, pressing Rikishi, very impressive, and very nice to see the way they're bringing him in. Interesting to see Paul Heyman. Interesting to see Rico Constantino now as the manager/stylist for Billy and Chuck. Nice to see some male managers that do not have the last name McMahon. Maybe that's a throwback. We talked about it on this program before, that was an untapped element that the World Wrestling Federation was missing out on by not having the male manager. Remember, back so many years, you've had Fuji, you've had Jimmy Hart, you had Jim Cornette, you had Bobby the Brain Heenan, Classy Freddie Blassie, and the Grand Wizard, and on and on and on. So very nice that they're trying to bring back the male manager once again. Very, very nice touch. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB is our phone number. We're going to take another break. More when we come back here on the Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910, WPFB. you knew or someone in your family was sick. My name is Shawn Stidham. Open phone lines available for you right now at 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. Call in, give Jay-Z a hard tax. Update you on a couple of things around the local area. The Heartland Wrestling Association will be coming back to Dayton on Wednesday, April the 10th. Chris Benoit will be appearing at that show. He's not going to be wrestling. He's going to be doing a personal appearance between 6:30 and 7:30. Your chance to see the Canadian Criplo, who is, I guess, going to be coming into the HWA sometime in the next week or so to begin his rehabilitation before going back to the World Wrestling Federation. At this point, Benoit's appearances at HWA shows will only be personal appearances, no wrestling, nothing physical like that, because he is still rehabbing. So if that changes, of course, we'll let you know. For the latest on the HWA, you can call 513-771-1650 or visit hwaonline.com. They are, by the way, having a float in the Cincinnati Reds opening day parade this coming Monday. So if you're going to be a part of that, make sure you look for that float. Chris Benoit is slated to appear on that float. Very nice to see a lot of people this past Saturday. I got a chance to go up to the UCW show Saturday night and see Sabu there. I got to see a lot of people. Logan Kane, BJ Bethel was there, the Atomic Rhino, a bunch of people. So very nice to see you guys. And UCW making their comeback. They've got another show slated. I believe it is April the 20th at the 798 Union Hall in downtown Dayton. And Violent Championship Wrestling, VCW, is going to make a return to action at the Miami County Fairgrounds coming up on April the 19th, the day before that. And then OCW, I believe their next show is slated for April the 6th. So all of those details available on the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991. Option 1, you get the latest news. Option 2 is where you get the complete calendar of events. So check that out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Update you on the contract status of a few individuals. There was some reports on the internet about Rob Van Dam recently turning down a 5-year offer from the World Wrestling Federation. That report has been denied by RVD. He said that, about 9 months ago I signed a new 3-year deal, so I don't have a contract coming up anytime soon. What will be interesting to see is what happens with Y2J Chris Jericho. Jericho's contract expires this July. And there's some rumblings that Jericho may not re-sign with the World Wrestling Federation. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between now and July. Since December, Jericho was the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion. Now, since he lost the belt at WrestleMania to Triple H, it appears that Jericho will not be pushed, at least not to the same level that he was when he was the World Wrestling Federation undisputed champion. There's a lot of talk that Jerry Jarrett's promotion, which is looking to start up in June, would like to spend a lot of money to get a Chris Jericho, enticing him with the fact that we're not going to give you as much money overall as the World Wrestling Federation will, but we're going to give you a lot of money to only work 26 dates. Jericho also is a big favorite in Japan. He's been over to Japan before. They could be offering him a lot of money for 2 or 3 tours a year of Japan, so it would be possible for Jericho to basically work for Jarrett, work for Japan, get a lot more money, a bigger percentage of his merchandising money, his marketing money, and not have to deal with the headaches of what's going on backstage in the World Wrestling Federation. So that is a hot topic backstage as well. And so let's see what happens with Jericho between now and July. If he's not getting a lot of main event time, if it looks like that he's more of an afterthought than anything else, don't be surprised if the World Wrestling Federation loses Chris Jericho, because after all, they have been offering, trying to get guys to pay less money when they've been renegotiating contracts. Now that Jerry Jarrett's in the picture, there's also some talk that the XWF could have a TV deal by this fall. If any of those rumors are true about Ted Turner being involved, it's possible they could go after Chris Jericho there, and he does have some ties to that organization there, some friendships there. So a lot to look forward to over the next few months involving Y2J Chris Jericho and his contract status. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It's a toll-free phone call. Time for one more break, and we'll come back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. It starts with
AM 910 WPFB.
My name is Shawn Stidham. Toll-free number is 866-910-WPFB. Email the Wrestling Guys at AOL.com. Update on Stone Cold Steve Austin's status for the house shows in Florida, courtesy of OneWrestling.com and Bob Ryder coming off the website. The official WWF website has removed Steve Austin's name from house show lineups for events scheduled for tonight in Gainesville and tomorrow night in Jacksonville. The move by WWF.com comes after a report on OneWrestling.com, as well as on other sites and sources, that the World Wrestling Federation was still officially listing Austin as being involved in those shows, despite what our sources, quote-unquote, had been telling us. The World Wrestling Federation had been aware, according to One Wrestling sources, that Austin would not be on these shows for at least the last couple of days. For some reason, they chose to continue to promote his appearance on their official website. And by the way, everything with the word official and sources is done in quotation marks, obviously some sarcasm after the World Wrestling Federation's open letter last week to internet websites and newsletters about using sources that promote things other than the facts. In this case, the sources were telling people Steve Austin would not be there. And now, of course, the World Wrestling Federation in the 11th hour is now saying Austin will not be there. Of course, my guess is that the show is probably going to start at 7:30. This report comes out at 6:40. So anybody that would not go to the show because Steve Austin would not be there is probably already at the arena. Very bad move by the World Wrestling Federation, if that is in fact how it all came down. Of course, the World Wrestling Federation's internet department has not been on top of things a lot lately. On their official website for The Rock, they had the headline up for the last couple of days. It got corrected this afternoon that The Rock, R-O-C-H, was the #1 pick in the draft this last Monday. Again, it was spelled R-O-C-H and stayed that way for, like 2 days. So their internet departments had a number of other blunders as well. So not surprising if they could have been told a week ago to take that down. It wouldn't be surprising if it just happened this afternoon. Update you on the news in case you missed the top of the program. Lita is going to appear on the season finale of Fox's Dark Angel. That's going to be on May 3rd. So she is going to miss the next couple of weeks of World Wrestling Federation action. Ratings this last Monday, very, very strong for the World Wrestling Federation as the WWF did its highest rating since August, banging out a 5.4 broadcast rating on hours of 5.1 and 5.7. Tomorrow night on Fox News, Linda McMahon is going to appear on Bill O'Reilly's special. That is going to be at 9 p.m. Billy and Chuck are going to appear on WWF Fight This. That is scheduled for Friday at 4 o'clock. Stone Cold Steve Austin is being advertised for Monday Night Raw this coming week. Last night on SmackDown, it was announced Austin would appear this coming Monday to try and answer the questions about his free agent status and exactly which roster, either Raw or SmackDown, that the Rattlesnakes will be appearing on. Chris Benoit will be with the HWA starting this next week. Benoit is going to appear on the HWA Cincinnati Red opening day for a float. They make various appearances at HWA events, not wrestling, but signing autographs and taking pictures. For more details, go to hwaonline.com. The World Wrestling Federation trying to convince Scott Steiner to visit a neurologist to find out if there's anything else that can be done about his drop foot syndrome. The World Wrestling Federation would love to have Scott Steiner on its roster, but they're not convinced that the drop foot syndrome is, back up here. They're convinced that the drop foot syndrome is serious enough that it would prevent them from signing Steiner to a full-time deal, and they want him to go and see if there's anything else. Steiner has avoided surgery up to this point, instead trying to rehab it with physical therapies, and apparently those results are not sufficient enough for the World Wrestling Federation. The new WWF CD forcible entry is expected to debut somewhere in the top 10 when those rankings come out at the end of the week. One thing I did not mention at the top of the program, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie Guerrero apparently are on their way to the World Wrestling Federation. The talk for some time has been one of the leagues, not clear at this time if it's going to be Raw or if it's going to be SmackDown, was going to push a cruiserweight division, and there's been a lot of talk with Jamie Noble and Shannon Moore and others from the developmental associations who would be called up to be a part of this cruiserweight division. And now it appears that Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. are going to be brought in. Certainly two of the most popular cruiserweights in the world, two of the biggest names. And of course with Eddie Guerrero, we know last year he was fired from the World Wrestling Federation after a DUI incident. He was on this show and talked about that. And so very nice to see he's going to get a second chance. Now what will be interesting to see if Brian Christopher comes back, to see if he's given a second chance, to see if the Road Dogg can be brought back. So something to watch very carefully in the World Wrestling Federation. Also, Eddie Guerrero is the current World Wrestling Association champion, cruiserweight champion, and he was slated to defend that title against Jerry Lynn on their upcoming Australian tour, and the next pay-per-view from that company. There's a lot of talk that that pay-per-view could be up in the air. There's problems with wrestlers, there's problems with money, and there's a very good possibility that show, that tour, could be canceled altogether. And if it is, it will be interesting to see if that company survives that. the XWF had to cancel its shows that were slated to Northern Ohio and Michigan later this month. They're saying they're going to be back sometime in the fall. They're expected to be on TV by then, and whether that's going to be syndication or whether or not they end up getting the TBS deal, that is something we will be following for you as well. Checking out something else here on about the Stone Cold Steve Austin and whether or not he's going to be appearing on Raw this coming Monday. We'll be very interested to see if he does no show this Monday, what kind of stance the World Wrestling Federation will take. You got to think that after advertising him last night at SmackDown, that he wouldn't, that everything must be set. I mean, surely the World Wrestling Federation would not promote Stone Cold Steve Austin for next Monday if they didn't know 100% that he would be there. You got to think that if he does not show up, that you got to wonder about the future of the Rattlesnake. Stone Cold Steve Austin's a guy that is not known for being careless with his money. He's had one of the richest contracts in wrestling history over the last few years, and it's entirely possible that if he's not satisfied with the way things are going in the World Wrestling Federation, that the guy could just up and call it a career. Personally, I seriously doubt that's going to happen, but you never know. 866-910-WPFB is the phone number. Our time is done for another week. Want to thank the callers we had tonight, Andy, Spanish Fly, Undertaker. I appreciate the time. Don't forget, Tuesday, you can catch me on the Rebel Ringside Report on our sister station, 105.9 Rebel, at 7:20 a.m. with Madison in the morning. And for the latest wrestling news, you can call the Wrestling Guys hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 937-285-0999. A terrific Wednesday to you. How are you? My name is Shawn Stidham. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys here on AM 910 WPFB, the 1st of May. And I've got to do the good dad thing. It's my daughter Ashley's first birthday. I don't know how well she can listen to the show right now, but happy birthday, Ashley. There, I did the good dad thing, right? Big Party Saturday. The Wrestling Guys radio show tonight. We've got a lot to get into, and we want to hear from you. One of the things we are going to talk about tonight is the fact that the World Wrestling Federation, over the last couple of weeks, have not acknowledged the death of two legends. A couple of weeks ago, Wahoo McDaniel passed away. Certainly a legend in this sport. It was never acknowledged by the World Wrestling Federation. Then last week, over the weekend, Lou Thesz, one of the greatest of all time. For many a generation, a lot of people will say he was the best wrestler of all time. And certainly, although it's arguable, but you won't find many people that will argue with you on this, Lou Thesz was quite possibly the best ambassador that professional wrestling ever had. Yet, his passing was never acknowledged or honored by the World Wrestling Federation. We will talk about that and get your thoughts on that as the show moves along. 866-910-WPFB. It's the toll-free phone number, 866-910-9732. Jay-Z's answering the phone, and he's waiting to take your call. Let's get you updated on the wrestling news of the day. Lita had successful neck surgery yesterday in San Antonio, Texas. The injury was suffered on the set of the television program Dark Angel when she filmed the season finale, and then a stunt woman accidentally dropped Lita on her head. Oops. That caused 3 cracks in the C6 and C7 section of her vertebrae. She is expected to be out at least 6 months. Raw this past Monday night threw a 4.4 rating. That is the lowest number Raw has banged out all year long. The last few weeks they've gotten a 4.8 rating, but that's not the case right now. Diamond Dallas Page may have to call it a career. According to an article on WWF.com, at least 2 doctors have told DDP that because of various back and neck injuries, their professional medical opinion is that he should retire. DDP does not want to. He wants to try and give it at least one more go. The doctors don't know if that's going to be possible or not. You can read the full article on WWF.com. A couple of other things to get updated on. The Rock right now is slated to come back to the World Wrestling Federation sometime in June. Do not look for this to be a long-term stay, as he has already began production on his next movie entitled Hell Dorado. And then after that, he's expected to focus exclusively on movies, but he is expected to come back for at least a few weeks sometime in June. By the way, in case you missed it, Scorpion King last week was once again the #1 movie at the box office. So far, it has garnered just under $61 million. With Spider-Man coming out this week, I don't look for it to do nearly as well, but certainly The Rock has made a smashing first impression in his first time out as a leading man. The World Wrestling Federation's July pay-per-view before 2001 was entitled Fully Loaded. In 2001, it was entitled Invasion. This year, right now, they're leaning at calling it Vengeance. Now, Vengeance, you might remember, was the name of the December pay-per-view, but after the events of September 11th, they felt like the traditional Armageddon December title was inappropriate, although now they feel like that Armageddon might be okay, so we'll put Vengeance in place in July. Rumors going around that Kevin Nash will disguise himself as Kane over the next few weeks. Kane out with a bicep injury, Kevin Nash healing his own bicep injury. Kind of ironic this would happen because if you know anything about the past of Kane, some of his former characters, he was, of course, Dr. Isaac Yankem, and then he also portrayed the fake Diesel, which, of course, Diesel was played by Kevin Nash. Ken Shamrock in negotiations with the World Wrestling Federation. The world's most dangerous man would like to make a return to the World Wrestling Federation. The problem is he does not want to work a full-time schedule. Negotiations still ongoing. The obvious speculation is that if Shamrock does return, he would feud with Kurt Angle, since they both use the ankle lock maneuver. The World Wrestling Federation's Raw team is on tour right now in Cologne, Germany. They've got about 5 shows in Germany over the next few days. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, The Big Show, Rob Van Dam, some of the big names on the tour. They're expected to do very, very well over there. The World Wrestling All-Star Tour of the United Kingdom at the end of this month is advertising Sid Vicious, Jerry Lynn, Jeff Jarrett, Grandmaster Sexay, Buff Bagwell, Christopher Daniels, The Cat, Ernest Miller, Stevie Ray, Conan, Medeja, Sabu, Crowbar, and, of course, their champion, Scott Steiner. In XWF news, oh, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. Last weekend, the XWF had tours of Texas planned. 4 shows, which they advertised for months and months and months. Then, come Thursday, when the wrestlers arrived at the building in Texas, they were told the show's been canceled because we've only sold a few dozen tickets. Now, then the XWF went ahead and canceled the entire Texas tour. Now, they claim that the promoter did not do his job. He didn't promote properly, and because of that, they went ahead and they canceled the tours. We're going to get into this in a minute. I'm being flagged down for a break, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the XWF, we'll talk about Lou Thez, and a lot more. This is the Wrestling Guys on the station. That's a part of your life. AM 910, WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques expert, with the antique of the day.
The Dayton Ballet catches spring fever with the dynamic production Fever, featuring the baseball ballet Play Ball, as well as 2 other fantastic pieces running May 2nd through the 5th at the Victoria Theater. Play Ball is a lighthearted ballet with all the fun of baseball on stage. Modus operandi, taking its inspiration from the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. Plus, Don't Teach Me Sweet Poetry examines the strength of women and their relationships to one another. Get your tickets for the Dayton Ballet season finale Fever. 888-228-3630. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Make dinner special this week at the Peerless Mill Inn. Choose from roast duck a la orange, select beef steak, spare ribs, 16-ounce prime ribs, or Tolanado's Dumas. 2 filet mignon over biscuits topped with ham and cheese and a thick white cream sauce. There's also daily fish specials at the Peerless Mill Inn, South 2nd Street, Miamisburg. And don't forget Sunday brunch, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with everything from sausage and eggs to quiche to fried chickens, $12.95 adults, children $6.50. The Peerless Mill Inn, all the best all week long.
Here's an antique that's a lot of fun to collect and relatively inexpensive. Postcards were first legally permitted, meaning they could be used instead of letters in the mail in Austria in 1869. The United States passed postal regulations allowing them to be used here in 1872. The amount of postage can help date a card. In 1871, the postage in the United States was a penny, and it stayed that amount until 1917 when it went up to 2 cents. This is interesting because in 1919, it went back down to a penny. Now that's a switch, isn't it? In 1925, it went up to 2 cents, and then in 1928, it went down to 1 cent. And it stayed there until 1952, and from then on up, you know the rest of the story. It's been going up, 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 non-stop. Popular cards are scenes of cities and famous buildings like the Woolworths Building in New York or the Art Institute of Chicago in Chicago. Postcards are a great buy, and you can find them maybe sometimes with a little bit of luck for under $1.
910 WPFB forecast for the Cinday corridor. There's a tornado watch in effect tonight for Butler and Warren counties until 10 p.m. Otherwise, showers and thunderstorms. Some thunderstorms may be severe with heavy rainfall, low 58. Right now, it's 71. Get up to the minute health news, 60-second tips for healthy living, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. news on WPFB.
And now back to Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. Our toll-free number, 866-910-9732. You okay there, BJ?
I think so.
Got to clear that throat out. BJ Bethel from the Pro Wrestling Torch. You okay there?
Yes, I'm alive.
You need an extra lung to replace the one you just coughed up?
Imitation of a dying cat,
That's good.
Yeah.
You know, and if I had any prizes, I would give out a prize to you for impersonating a dying cat, because it's maybe the best I've heard.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, anytime.
You really like me. You really do.
Thanks, Sally. BJ Bethel joining me, of course, from Pro Wrestling Torch and, of course, the Wrestling Guys Hotline. And we were going into the break. We were talking about the XWF and what happened this past weekend. And let me just set the stage for those of you that missed it and finish the story. And BJ, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Last Thursday, the XWF canceled an entire Texas tour at the last minute. The wrestlers had already arrived. The reason was they claimed the promoter didn't do his job in promoting the shows.
Yes.
Now, my problem with this is that the XWF is trying to put all the blame on the promoter, when in reality, down at the offices in Florida, there's a bunch of guys. Jimmy Hart, Greg Valentine, Dave Pinzer,
Brian Knobs,
Roddy Piper sometimes, and various other people.
At least one secretary.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what they do all day, because they don't have a television contract yet, although they're negotiating one, but that doesn't take 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
They have now officially canceled more shows than they've actually run in their history. And they've allowed the World Wrestling Federation to walk right in and say, okay, we want this guy, Kurt Hennig. We would like, they're probably going to get Josh Matthews, so we'd like that guy. Hulk Hogan, come on over.
There's something about Josh Matthews not a people have realized. They think he was working on a per-show basis. That's not true. He actually had a retainer deal with the XWF, which prevented him from going anywhere. In fact, it got him some heat with people that he knew in the WWF, but the fact that he signed that because they thought he could go to the WWF. So that meant Jimmy Hart or somebody in that company had to let Josh Matthews go.
Right. And the fact is that by canceling those shows, what the heck are those guys doing down there?
I don't know.
You need somebody to go, okay, let's give the guy in Texas a call and see if he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, how many tickets have we sold? Do you need us to do any interviews? Do you need us to come out and do any, do we need to come out and tack the posters up on the telephone poles? What can we do?
Yes. Well, I think something's wrong when you ask and you offer guys for radio interviews, you offer guys to help out with promotion, and the guy says no.
Right,
So right then and there, I have somebody on that plane headed to Texas.
Exactly.
Because if you got enough money to have guys stick around the office all day, you got enough money to send somebody out there to Texas and keep an eye on it.
And no matter what the reason is, it still looks bad. The XWF right now is I think you're going to have a very competitive battle between them, between Jarrett's NWA, and between the World Wrestling All-Stars in trying to become the second national promotion.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be so much a television battle, but as far as signing guys, the three feds have a pretty loose deal where you can actually work for anybody you want,
right,
as long as you make your scheduled dates with the company. But sooner or later, one of those owners, since this is professional wrestling, they're going to decide, well, God, I don't want this guy working for him.
Well, it's going to be whoever gets the first regular television deal.
Exactly.
Because Jarrett looks like he's going to get the victory in that by starting with the in-demand pay-per-view thing on June 19th. But again, it's pay-per-view. He's not asking guys to sign an exclusive deal. He's going to use a lot of young guys from NWA Wildside and other places. Guys like more established guys like your Greg Valentines or your Road Warriors, they're probably not going to be interested in that. And quite frankly, I don't think Jarrett's group would be interested in them given their age.
Yeah.
But between the World Wrestling All-Stars and the XWF, it looks like XWF, even though they've been having their problems, they may actually get a TV deal.
Yeah, that's been their primary aim. Jarrett really hasn't been focused on a TV deal. He wanted this thing with the relationship with End-of-Man, with that plan behind him. So they're working on opposite ends of the spectrum a little bit. But as far as a television deal, there's supposed to be some kind of announcement from the XWF. At least they're telling some of their workers this, that they expect to hear something about a television deal probably by May 8th. That's been the date. I've talked to people in their office. They keep saying there's going to be something soon. They're working with lawyers in 2 different cities, New York and L.A. They're supposedly building something that way. But the one big rumor I keep hearing is that they're supposed to be getting the closest spot to a television spot that they're supposed to be getting is a paid spot on the Fox Kids network.
Which that seems odd.
It's just
I know a TV deal is a TV deal, a national is national.
Yeah.
But that just seems like a real odd fit.
It doesn't sound. I mean, it's like having it's like putting a wrestling show on Lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, there's certain things you don't do.
We'll see what it works. BJ Bethel joining me here on the Wrestling Guys radio show on AM 910 WPFB. You know, the one rumor that had been going around for some time, and I know that the XWF wanted to get the old 6 o'clock Saturday evening TBS slot.
Yeah.
But apparently they had the chance, but they wouldn't allow Turner to buy into it. Is that correct?
I think the Torch actually ran a story on this a couple months ago. There was some
plug your new thing now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's Wade Tiller and Jason Pelt from the Torch newsletter, which you can read their website at pwtorch.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they actually ran a story on the situation with Turner and the XWF. I think he offered to buy into the company. He wanted to be majority owner. The guys that own the company now didn't feel that was a good deal since they built this up. They wanted to give it a run on their own, which I really don't blame them for that. And considering the support that Time Warner gave their last wrestling company, I can see being a little wary of that too. But yeah, I think Turner, it might be an outside chance for Ted Turner at this point, but I think definitely there's probably leaning more towards Fox, because Fox seems to have the most interest in kind of alternative sporting events at this point.
BJ Bethel joining me on the Wrestling Guys here on AM 910 WPFB. I want to get a little bit into the whole Lou Thez, Wahoo McDaniel controversy. Over the weekend, Lou Thez, multi-time NWA champion, AWA champion, author of one of the greatest wrestling books of all time called Hooker. The book is so good that Jim Cornette makes it required reading for his students at Ohio Valley Wrestling. The guy was head of the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is just a Hall of Fame type thing for old-time wrestlers.
Yeah.
Went out of his way to really embrace the internet and to communicate with fans and to answer questions and to give his thoughts on the current product. And nobody, I have never met anybody that ever had a bad word about Lou Thez.
Yes. Then, classic nice guy.
Right, 86 years old, passed away.
Yeah.
Say what you want to about WCW, but when wrestlers died, and unfortunately it seems to happen a lot, but when wrestlers passed away, WCW would always acknowledge it, even if they weren't currently with their company. When Rick Rude died, when Brian Pillman died, when Owen Hart died, they went out of their way to, at the beginning of the program, you don't have to run a 15-minute video on the guy or retrospective, just a little black screen that says, in memory of Lou Thez, and that's all people ask for.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because you know that at the production meetings Monday at Raw, you know that somebody had to bring it up. Do we want to do this? And you know somebody, be it McMahon or whoever, said no.
Exactly. And if you read Dave Meltzer's comments on this...
I was actually going to get to those, but go ahead.
But he basically alludes to the fact that Vince went out of his way to people to say, we are not mentioning the death of Lou Thez on this program. He doesn't actually come out and say that, I believe, but he does infer that, and Dave, he has some of the best sources in the business.
Now my question is, if Vince is sitting here, Vince, why? You won. You're the only game in town. Forget XWF, forget WWE. You don't have any competition right now. What would it have hurt for you to very simply say in memory of Lou Thez or in memory of Wahoo McDaniel? What would it have hurt?
Not a thing.
My guess is that whenever they came that up, somebody in the WWF said, you know what? I bet we can really tick off the internet fans if we do this. And, of course, they're right. You're getting a lot of very, very animated, emotional responses on the internet. Let me read this. This is from Dave Meltzer, the Tuesday report on the Wrestling Observer. Could you imagine if when Mickey Mantle passed away that the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers told the announcers if there was a game the next day, specifically that you can't acknowledge his death because 45 years earlier he was on the rival team in the same market? Or if Lucille Ball or Carol O'Connor passed away and the president of NBC, because of all the years of rivalry, wouldn't allow anyone on any shows to acknowledge the death? Or if on MTV, when Frank Sinatra, who was never an MTV star and never cut a music video, had passed away, and the head of the network specifically told all the people on the station the next day that they were not allowed to acknowledge his death. Then Meltzer gives one of the best cracks ever at Vince. There is a saying that a lifetime in wrestling has shown me is true. You will always be disappointed at the end if you hang on to even a thread of belief that when the chips are down, Vince McMahon will show any class. That is harsh. That's from Dave Meltzer at the Wrestling Observer.
That is the absolute harshest comment I think Dave Meltzer has ever made about any one single person in the business.
You know what's amazing about this? Vince McMahon is an old-time kind of guy. There are people that have never worked for the WWF, that worked for the WWWF when his dad was running it, that he is still paying.
Yeah.
Because he has a loyalty for the old-time guys. When guys, who are in their 60s and 70s, the old-time guys, when they go to a WWF show, Vince is known to pull these guys aside and will spend a half hour talking with these guys, just reminiscing. What is it about Lou Thesz and Wahoo McDaniel?
I think the point you just brought forward, that's the exact problem. He believes it's still 1960 with Lou Thesz holding the title and Bruno Sammartino holding the WWF title up in the northeastern part of the country, and they're fighting over house show gates. He's never going to lose that mentality, and it's a shame. For some reason, this guy has not realized over the past year that he won. He's the only one left. There's no more NWA. Yeah, sure, Jarrett's pay-per-view is going to be called that, but guess what? The NWA is dead. It died 10 years ago. The WCW died last year. He's it. And he has some kind of responsibility to keep the past of this business alive. That's the only thing he has to do as a sole promoter in this country. And if he can't do that, then the hell with him. And I tell you what, when he dies and I'm still reporting and doing this stuff, I'm not going to report on it.
You know what's funny is Cam Collins, who comes on this show periodically and has done the Wrestling Guys Hotline, is a pretty well-known name in this area. He went to WWF New York a couple of weeks ago, and he said the most ironic thing was we were sitting there, he and his
studio, the tag team champions of Talk Radio, the Wrestling Guys.
Good evening, a terrific Wednesday to you. Nice to be back in the studio. My name is Shawn Stidham. Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Our toll-free phone number, 866-910-9732, 866-910-WPFB. It's a toll-free call. We pick up the tab. Jay-Z's answering the phones. Be nice to him. A lot of stuff to get into during the next 54 minutes. Later on in the program, Jeremy Borash, the voice of the World Wrestling All-Stars, and now affiliated with NWA Total Nonstop Action. That's the new promotion being launched by Jeff Jarrett and his dad, Jerry. He is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We will talk about that. We will talk about the WWA and a whole bunch more. And we will take your calls also. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. If you want to sound off via email, you can do so by emailing me at thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. Let's get you up to date what's happening in the wrestling world. I'm not really sure if this still qualifies as a wrestling story or not, but it gives me a chance to sound off on her, so it sounds like a good idea. You've probably seen it in the news by now, but next week, Fox is going to air Celebrity Boxing 2. It is going to have such marquee names as Darva Conger, William the Refrigerator Perry, Manute Bol, Horseshack from Welcome Back Kotter, Screech from Saved by the Bell, all boxing for our entertainment. One of the matches that had been promoted up until yesterday was a bout featuring Joey Buttafuoco. If you remember him, he's the guy that Amy Fisher was sleeping around with, and Amy Fisher tried to kill his wife. She ended up going to jail. Actually, Amy Fisher was supposed to be on the last Celebrity Boxing, but her parole officer said that would not be a good thing for you to be on. Anyway, Joey Buttafuoco was going to fight John Wayne Bobbitt, the guy that had his manhood lopped off a few years back from his wife. Anyway, yesterday, Bobbitt, it turns out, is being under investigation for domestic violence. Maybe he was practicing for his fight. I don't know. Anyway, Fox decided it would be a pretty bad idea to have Bobbitt on the program, so they replaced him with... You got this? You ready? China. I can't call it China anymore. Joni Laurer is going to replace John Wayne Bobbitt on Celebrity Boxing 2. Is there anything lower in the entertainment/celebrity spectrum to be on than Celebrity Boxing 2? If you were on Celebrity Boxing 2, that means you're in the 15 minutes, that you're in the 15th minute of your 15 minutes of fame. Your career is essentially done. This is the same Chyna that left the World Wrestling Federation last year so that she could go and branch out and do more tasteful things, like a Playboy video. Guess the movie career didn't shape up like she thought it was. She thought she was going to get a role in Terminator 3. She told everybody, oh, Arnold loves me, I'm going to be in Terminator 3, and then it went to somebody else. She told everybody, oh, I'm going to play Wonder Woman, until they go, and no, we want somebody that looks like a woman. I'm sorry. So anyway, next Tuesday, Chyna fights Joey Buttafuoco on Celebrity Boxing 2. Got your VCR set for that? You may want to. Bad news for the WWE. This past Monday's Raw did a 3.9 rating overall, not counting when it ran on a holiday, Christmas, New Year's. It's the lowest rating Raw has posted since 1998. And there was no serious competition this past Monday. There was no Monday Night Football. There was no Oscars. There was no Emmys. There was no World Series game. Nothing at all. The Mary Tyler Moore special was on. I don't think there's a lot of crossover between Mary Tyler Moore and Raw, but maybe there was. I don't know, even though that show got killed in the ratings too. But some serious signs for the World Wrestling Entertainment that people right now are not tuning in. Why aren't people tuning in to Raw? I'm asking you. I'm asking you, the wrestling fans listening to this program, if you're not tuning in to Raw, if you're not happy with the product, I want to know why. 866-910-WPFB, the phone number. Jazz is going to be out 4 to 6 months. She dropped her women's title this past Monday on Raw because she is torn the ACL in her left knee. She's going to have surgery, and she'll be back again 4 to 6 months. I guess the injury is an old high school injury that she suffered while playing basketball, and it's kind of always been there, and the rigors of the schedule finally caught up with her. The World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment, they're going to be in Cincinnati June the 22nd, the day before the King in the Ring pay-per-view at a house show in Cincinnati. No word yet on when tickets will be going on sale. Let's see, what else we're going to get to here. I've got some very cool stuff to give away a little bit later on, actually. The Judgment Day pay-per-view is coming up this Sunday, and our good friends at Time Warner Cable have provided us with some Judgment Day gift bags, and we will be giving some of that away a little bit later on. Tell you what, let's go ahead and take a phone call, and first up tonight is Andy on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. What is up, Andrew? Andy once. Hold on, let's see if I got this right here. Andy, are you there? Hello? For some reason, I'm not getting him in my headset. Okay, we will try and work that out. I apologize, Andy. Try and call back. We will try and work that out. Tell you what, we are going to go ahead and take a break. Don't forget, Jeremy Borash from the NWA Total Nonstop Action comes up at 6:30 tonight, and more of your phone calls, 866-910-WPFB. If we get the phones working, but I think we will do that. 866-910-9732. Let's slow down. We'll be back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer-Loomis, your antiques expert with the Antique of the Day.
If you manage a small company or big plant, you probably notice your employees listen to AM 910 WPFB. And yet, when you're hiring new employees, you probably place an ad in a news...
I'm going to be into work tomorrow morning. Well, we'll let you know the traffic watch twice an hour, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on 910 WPFB. And now back to Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. The phone lines are fixed, so if you want to call in now, 866-910-9732, 866-910-WPFB, our toll-free phone number. And like I said, going into the break, last Monday's Raw, the lowest rating since 1998, which obviously means some people are not watching Raw that used to watch it. So I'm curious, if you didn't watch it this past Monday, what did you watch? Did you tune in to Mary Tyler Moore? What else is on Monday night tonight? I have no idea. Anyway, let me know what you're watching or what your thoughts are on the World Wrestling Entertainment. What's your thoughts of the name change? We didn't get a lot of time to talk in about some of that stuff last week. Of course, now the WWF, because of the court battle against the World Wildlife Fund, is now called World Wrestling Entertainment. A lot of people not liking the change, wondering why didn't you use the WCW name, or why didn't you go back to the old days with the WWWF? So I want to get your thoughts on that too, 866-910-WPFB. A couple of local notes. Rey Mysterio Jr. is going to be in the Heartland Wrestling Association for the next couple of weeks. Ray is signed to the World Wrestling Entertainment. Got to watch that. And he's going to be appearing on their shows the next couple of weeks, beginning this Saturday at the Red Barn in Batavia. and not really sure if it's going to be longer than a 2-week stay or not, but he'll be working out his ring rust as he gets ready to jump headfirst into that new cruiserweight division that the WWE has planned. Also this weekend, Jamie Noble and Shannon Moore from the Heartland Wrestling Association, who are also expected to have a major role in that cruiserweight division, are slated to work dark matches and house shows for WWE. Nova, formerly of ECW fame, has also been signed to a World Wrestling Federation developmental deal, and he is going to debut this week for Ohio Valley Wrestling. And so if you fans of OVW want to go down, most of their shows, they got the shows down at Kentucky Kingdom, and most of their shows are within a 3 or 4 hour drive. But if you want to check out Nova, you can do so now at Ohio Valley Wrestling. Okay, Andy is back on the line. I think we got it fixed. Andrew, how you doing?
Are you there, Shawn?
I am here, Andy. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. Took a couple weeks off, and I'm back.
You had some R&R, now you're ready, you're fit, you're set, you got a clear head, and you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
All right, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I've been busy lately, but it's hard to turn on the WWF and see. You look at the bottom of the screen, and you see this, like usually, you see the TNA logo and the WWF logo, so it's just 2 W's.
Mm-hmm.
Why not put the E on there, or make a new logo, or something? Or not even put your logo on there at all. That was my big gripe.
You want to go with a logoless company?
Logoless company, or just put an E on there. I mean, you could put an E on the old logo just as easy as you could take the F off.
I'm not in the marketing department for Vince and Company, so I don't know why. My guess is that part of the World Wildlife Fund's complaint was the actual logo. They thought that the way the logo was positioned, it caused confusion, which I don't understand. But if they put the E on there, that may have caused some more confusion for them. And actually, the World Wildlife Fund is still not very happy with the logo the WWE has. They think that there's still going to be a lot of confusion. Although how you can confuse a panda bear with a WWE wrestler remains to be seen. At least I have no idea how. But that's my guess anyway.
It's just near in the future. Do you see somewhere, somehow, a wrestler dressing up as a panda bear to make light of this?
It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
Andy, thank you very much for the call. Appreciate the time. If you want to hop on board where he was, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732 is our toll-free phone number. And looking at a couple of independent notes from around the country, this one's pretty interesting. Willowbrook, Illinois, June the 14th. The Interstate 8-Man Tournament's going to be held. In their advertising, they are promoting no blood, no chair shots, no brawling outside the ring, and no tables. A very old-school night of wrestling in Willowbrook, Illinois on June the 14th. Wrestlers involved. This is where it gets funny. CM Punk, if you know anything locally, CM Punk wrestles for IWA Mid-South Wrestling, a hardcore wrestling federation. Guys like Acid, Mimic, Steve Boz, Ryan Boz, Vic Capri, all these guys are somewhat known for having a hardcore style with their wrestling. Now come June the 14th, they are not going to do anything like that. No chair shots, no tables. It's going to be a clean, honest wrestling. Catch as catch can wrestling. 866-910-WPFB is our phone number. Let's go back to the phone lines and talk to the amazing Chris. You're on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Hey, what's happening, Shawn?
Too much. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, quick question. Is it just me, or does it seem like the WWF hired some of WCW's old story writers?
Oh, I tell you what, it was like, the joke going around on Tuesday was, what's going on right now with a lot of television specials, it seems to be on this nostalgic thing, where they're showing like the Mary Tyler Moore reunion, and they're showing the Laverne and Shirley reunion and all of that. And it was like it was a WCW reunion this past Monday. You had Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
You had, the show ending with an NWO beatdown. So it was somewhat interesting. But, I don't know. I don't think they've hired any more of the writers, but I wouldn't be surprised by what we've seen.
Yeah, I saw the Hogan-Flair match, and my first comment was, this match would have been hot about 15 years ago.
Well, the funny thing is, if you think back to 5 or 6 years ago when the Monday Night Wars were really heating up, that's the kind of main event that the WWF at the time would have simply lambasted because the guys are too old, they've been around too long, and now, 2002, that's what your main event is, or semi-main event is on Monday Night Raw. Chris, I got to take a break. Appreciate the phone call.
All right, man.
All right, thank you. 866-910-WPFB. I tell you what, caller number 5, we will give one of our Judgment Day packs. Back here on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. Again, our toll-free number, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. Chris, before the break, had some very interesting comments about how this past Monday, it seemed to be a flashback to WCW. Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan in the main event on a Monday night. The show ends with the NWO having a beatdown. A lot of things happening. One thing I want to cover on, we talked about a little bit last week, was Scott Hall being released. Then on Thursday, Curt Hennig was fired, and it all goes back to the plane ride. What's now being termed as the plane ride from hell. If you're not up on the story, let me refresh you as to what happened on the plane ride coming back from England last weekend, this past weekend. The Raw crew was overseas on a tour. They went to Germany. They had a UK-only pay-per-view. On the plane ride back, the WWE was serving complimentary alcohol. Now, this was a chartered plane, so rules are a little bit more lax on a chartered plane than they are on a chartered plane than they are on a commercial flight. Among the things that happened, let's start with the first thing. Goldust, Dustin Runnels, began serenading his ex-wife Terry on the airplane intercom. Now, Terry got Dustin his job back in the World Wrestling Federation. After a few beers, Dustin began singing to her. Obviously, she started feeling very uncomfortable about the whole situation. She asked him to stop. He didn't. It took Jim Ross, the head of talent relations, to go back to Dustin and say, sit down and shut the hell up, which he finally did. While that's happening on the plane, Ric Flair, who knocked a few back on his own, was going around dressing in nothing but his underwear with his robe on. Very nice. While that was happening, you had the situation with Brock Lesnar and Curt Hennig. Hennig and Lesnar were sitting around when they started to get into an argument about who would win in a real fight. Well, actually, it was Hennig antagonizing Lesnar, saying, you know what, you're young, you're a big guy, but I could still whip your butt. If you and I got into an actual wrestling match, I don't care if you're an NCAA champion or not, I would whip your tail. So the two men started wrestling around. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H, was walking by. He tried to break the scuffle up. In the meantime, in the process, all three guys fall on the emergency exit door. You think that would have been bad? A slight catastrophe there if that door opened up. Then, the main story, Michael Hayes, formerly of the Fabulous Freebirds, knocked a few beers back on his own, and he started basically cutting promos on various people, telling them, I can whip your butt, I can whip your tail. And as he's walking by, he throws a punch at Bradshaw, hitting Bradshaw in the head, and Bradshaw had a cut that was healed over, and Hayes opened him up. So Bradshaw and Hayes start going at it. Hayes ends up falling asleep. While Michael Hayes is asleep, someone cut off Michael Hayes' mullet. If you remember anything about Michael Hayes, you know the guy had long hair and was very protective of it, and now it was cut off, and the next night it was tacked up on the wall backstage of Monday Night Raw. Now, no one is coming out and saying who cut Michael Hayes' hair. The consensus was that Hayes was being an ass, and he deserved what he got. Now, a lot of people are saying it was X-Pac that cut his hair, but you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, so needless to say, the Raw crew has been a little on the unruly side lately. Maybe the loss of control that was shown on the plane ride coming back from England is just a little bit, a microcosm of the problems that are happening backstage trying to control this crew. You've got a lot of egos. You've got Stone Cold Steve Austin. You've got The Undertaker. You've got Hulk Hogan. Of course, he's going over from between both programs. But you've got a lot of people that you have to appease. And maybe that's some of the problem with Monday Night Raw. We'll see. 866-910-WPFB is our toll-free number. Want to congratulate Tim. He was caller number 5. And I think we have Tim on the line right now. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
You're doing fine. Congratulations. You get a Judgment Day pack from our good friends at Time Warner. It includes, I didn't even tell you what it includes.
All right.
You get a T-shirt. You get a hacky sack. You get what I think is a golf towel, with the WWF logo, not the WW logo, but the WWF. So this is a collector's item.
Hey, yeah, collector's item.
There you go. And it also includes a set of Undertaker temporary tattoos.
Oh, that's cool.
So there you go. So this Sunday, you can watch the pay-per-view from Time Warner. You can sit there with your Judgment Day shirt. You can put your tattoos on, and you will be the hit of the night.
All right, cool. That'll work.
You had a question or a comment about Ric Flair?
Yeah, now that he's turned heel, you think there's any chance of them reforming the Four Horsemen?
Man, about 2 months ago I would have said no, but it looks like right now that they're in a position where they're going to try absolutely anything. Flair has said that he didn't think that they would bring back the Four Horsemen again, but if the ratings continue to slide, I could certainly see them bringing back the Horsemen with Flair in a J.J. Dillon type role, the managerial role, something along those lines. As far as who would be in the Four Horsemen, I don't know. I hope they don't bring it back, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, man, I wish they would.
Well, keep in mind, for me, the Horsemen is always going to be Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Barry Windham, Ole Anderson. And I'm one of those guys that without Tully Blanchard, it wasn't the Horsemen.
Right.
Now, I enjoyed the team they had with Benoit, with Pillman. I thought they worked well together. But, when you started throwing names like Paul Roma and Steve McMichael, whatever you want to think about it, the legacy of the Horsemen, it was certainly tainted. And I don't know. I don't think you could I don't think that you could put four guys together and make them as special as what those quartets during the 80s were like.
Yeah. Also had one quick thing here.
Yeah.
The hair versus hair match this weekend.
Yeah.
You think Michael Hayes would be the special guest referee?
You know what the funny thing is? Apparently Hayes has not went to a barber or to a hairstylist to get it fixed. So he's walking around with this chopped off hair from a little over a week ago.
Don't he do the announcing on Heat or Jacked or...
Yeah, he's done the announcing on a couple different programs for them.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Hey, I got to break for news, but congratulations on the gift pack, and thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are going to break for news. When we come back, we'll talk to Jeremy Borash from the NWA TNA and from the WWA. We'll break for news, come back more on the Wrestling Guys here on AM 910 WPFB.
Do you know where your news is?
On 910 WPFB, the Middletown News Authority.
I'm Dwight Smith, 910 WPFB News. Middletown police still on the lookout for the bad guy who held up a Middletown bank Wednesday morning. Major Mike Bruggs saying the robbery happening about 9:30 and has this description of the robber.
Black male, around age 30, who's about 6 foot tall, is wearing a green and black checkered jacket, no shirt, had a baseball hat, and some kind of glasses on.
Brooks saying the man entering the bank and demanded money through a written note.
Approached the cashier, passed her a note, and left with an undetermined amount of cash. The last they saw him, he was leaving the front of the bank. We don't have any witnesses as to whether or not he got in the car or not.
Nobody hurt in that holdup and no weapon displayed. The Veterans Memorial Committee has come up with a contractor and design for a memorial to honor Middletown soldiers killed in battle. Todd's Monuments will build the memorial, which will be located in Woodside Cemetery. It will be a 50-foot-long black granite wall, which will have the names of those killed engraved on it. A granite globe with a bronze eagle on top of it will be located in front of the wall. 4 benches and several flagpoles will also accentuate the site. A groundbreaking for the memorial expected by November. The dedication of the site could be next Memorial Day. New Jersey authorities won't say whether drugs or alcohol were involved in an early morning crash at a McDonald's. 3 McDonald's workers in Mount Ephraim were killed when an out-of-control car went flying through the front window of the fast food restaurant. The driver is hospitalized. Your 910 WPFB forecast for the Sunday corridor. Tonight becoming partly cloudy, a low of 54. Thursday partly cloudy, chance of showers late, high of 78. Right now, 70.
If your home still has its original windows, chances are they're hard to keep clean and even harder to slide open and shut. This spring, stop the struggle. Add beauty to your home with custom-fit replacement windows from Sears Home Central. Just call 1-800-858-1044 for a free in-home estimate. Call now and save $375 on select styles. Custom-fit replacement windows from Sears glide smoothly, tilt in for easy cleaning, and may help reduce your energy costs. This spring, enjoy bright rooms without the damaging rays of sun. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. So call Sears at 1-800-858-1044 and save $375 on select styles. Offer ends May 31st. License number available on request. Not available in all areas. Minimum purchase for windows. Ask your representative for offer details and written warranty. So if it's time to replace your old windows, call Sears now. 1-800-858-1044.
And now back to the wrestling guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham, and joining me tonight is, you've heard him many times. He's been the voice of WCW Live, the voice of the World Wrestling All-Stars, and now affiliated with NWA Total Nonstop Action. A lot of you have been asking questions about this new promotion, and here to answer those for us tonight, Jeremy Borash. How you doing, man?
Pleasure to be on the program. I really do think you do a fantastic job there, and certainly everybody in this radio market, you are very, very lucky to have Shawn there. He does a fantastic job.
We were talking about you wanted a check before. I didn't know if I got to write a check for that much.
Oh,
geez.
Oh, so it's not. Oh, then I take back everything. Never mind.
Let's talk a little bit about NWA TNA. Nice initials, by the way.
Thank you.
You're the TNA girls. That's nice.
Total Nonstop Action. Is there something more? Is there a double entendre there? I don't see it.
Is there? Is there? I don't think there is. You made a lot of news over the last week when you signed Ken Shamrock to a deal. The word was that, he had been courted by the World Wrestling Entertainment, so it has to be very nice to get the world's most dangerous man locked up on your roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that Shamrock brings is, we really haven't seen him. What we've seen from him, at least in the professional wrestling ranks, has been pretty impressive. And I think one thing that he brings is a crossover, with both the UFC fans and obviously fans of professional wrestling. So the pay-per-view companies are real big on him because he's done numbers for them. And as far as we're concerned, we're going to really try and just make a further effort to make him an even bigger star, at least in professional wrestling. So I'm real happy that he's on board, and he's just one of many that we're going to be having that we're going to be able to talk about over the next couple of weeks.
Let's mention a couple of those names, because obviously one question everybody asks is who is going to be in this promotion. Mm-hmm. We know Jeff Jarrett's there. We know Ken Shamrock now. Can you give us any kind of insight as to who else that Joe Average Wrestling fan may recognize?
Well, there will be names added, and I'm not going to do that, Shawn, because quite honestly, the names are there.
I was hoping for the scoop, Jeremy. Come on.
Well,
come on.
I'll tell you the bigger picture, and the reason I'm going to throw this at you in all seriousness is because we're not necessarily selling names. We are selling a concept and selling a program. We will get the names across, and mark my words, 1 month into this show, there'll be a whole new group of names you're going to be talking about that we're going to push to the moon, that are talented, that deserve that spot, that we are going to create our own stars. And I think there are some people that we have on board with this promotion that you may or may not have heard of before, that are going to really be breakout stars. And we've certainly done a tremendous screening process. We have looked through literally hundreds of tapes. We have people all over the globe, literally, looking for talent for this thing, and what we have found is I'm so happy with. We've pulled some amazing strings to get some amazing talent to be part of this program. So really, I guess we could tell you names. I could tell you this guy's going to be here. I could tell you that guy's going to be there. But really, it's going to come down to the product, the stories we tell with these superstars. And let me give you an example. I mean, Brad Pitt is a fantastic actor. He's had great movies and he's had really bad movies. The stars are going to be made by the stories that we put them in. And if Brad Pitt's in a bad movie, suddenly he's not the same actor he was. And I think it's the kind of same thing we're going to go about, making sure our storytelling is second to none. And that's really, I think, where we can carve our niche right now.
But, I don't think his wife has done anything bad. Jennifer Aniston. Give me Picture Perfect 2. I'll watch it.
Picture Perfect 2.
I will watch it.
When is that sequel coming out?
I don't know. I will fast track that one, though. If it's got Jennifer Aniston's getting fast tracked. Jeremy Borash joining me on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. You talk about the names, but I think more important is to bring out a different concept than what everybody's been watching for the last couple of years on Monday nights, simply because if you don't have the Rock name, you don't have the Hogan name, you don't have the Austin name, then you've got to go to something else. You don't have that mega name out there right now that you can latch onto.
Well, you know what, and even if we did, I mean, there are a few names that would, quote-unquote, draw buy rates, but really...
Bill Goldberg's a free agent, Jeremy.
Sure, well, absolutely, and don't think we aren't well aware of that.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's up to us to come up with the right stories to tell with these people.
Right.
And I'll use another promotion that, has since gone by the wayside, but, ECW was fantastic at coming up and making stars, and... what you thought or what you saw with that program wasn't necessarily a lot of just standout different talents with their own identity. You saw a whole program that was a concept that worked. We're going about it with the same type of philosophy as, you know, TNA on Wednesday nights has to be a must-see program. It has to be the kind of thing where you don't want to come home and not order this show, because, quite frankly, that's something that's been missing. There really hasn't been, at least in my life, and I'm a huge wrestling fan, but there are weeks where I can skip one or two of the wrestling programs providing original content and not really feel like I've missed anything. But there was a time, you know, 2 years ago where you just never did that. You always had to be in front of the television on Monday nights. That's not the case too much anymore, and I think the thing we need to bring back to the table is something that really requires a fan interest and that draws the fan in and has it be really must-see TV, and that's really, to coin a phrase from NBC, the way we were going to go about it. You know, it's going to be something that we just don't want people to have to think about not seeing.
Jeremy, right now the only avenue that the NWA TNA has is the in-demand service, correct?
Now, we're going to be available on all platforms of pay service.
Including satellite, DirecTV?
Everything.
Oh, wonderful. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
But is there down the road a plan to have a syndicated, or if you can get a network deal, to try and branch out to something other than pay-per-view?
Well, Shawn, I think the way that this industry is going to go, and I think the way television is going to go, and, you know, this is looking so far down into the future, but, you know, you take a look at the way cable has evolved. You know, there were years ago where people said, oh, people never pay to see television. You know, then pay-per-view started out, people will never pay to see an event. Well, now that the trend seems to be going, and in-demand is involved, and so many different cable companies are looking at this going, you know, this might be the future, because ad rates are down as far as advertisers go. It's so difficult now. You know, you're a slave to any network you sign up to. Ask Paul Heyman about that. And really, for us, being in control of our own destiny and our own programming, not having to answer to the sponsors, only having to answer to the fans, the ones that make the decision to spend that $9.95 a week, is really the position we like to be in. And I think as you look towards more and more of the future of cable broadcasting, I think you're going to see more and more programs become pay-per-view exclusive. I know that there have been plans and talks for different shows, say a Sex and the City, or a show that is a cult following that people will pay, say, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 to see every week, as opposed to the way they're broadcast now. I think that's going to be the trend, and I think being that fact that we are going to be kind of kicking this off along with another NASCAR type of program that In-Demand's going to be doing, I think that's going to be the trend, and there are no plans for us to do anything but pay-per-view. If you want to see NWA, TNA, we want to make it special enough that you have to pay for it.
Jeremy Borash joining us on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Jeremy, this is the first time that the NWA has had a national platform in about 13 years. And on that first show on June 19th, you have some legendary champions. Dory Funk Jr. is going to appear. Harley Race is going to be there. How important is it for you to connect to the past and to bring some of these legends up into the forefront and to reintroduce them to today's fan?
Well, it's tricky because obviously there are a lot of fans out there who probably have no idea who these guys are.
True.
But at the same time, there are a lot of fans like myself who grew up watching these guys. Our goal with this is to bring back the NWA name and bring back some of the nostalgia that surrounded that. But at the same time, the year is 2002, and we realize that that is the year, right, Shawn?
Last time I checked, yes.
That is the kind of, you know, fan base that we have to appeal to. So when we see a Harley Race, when we see a Dory or Terry Funk, when we see, you know, any of the number of names that we've been talking to be a part of this from a nostalgia standpoint, we have roles already for these guys in the show that's going to be very entertaining. And the way we're going to be implementing them into the program is going to, I think, almost, maybe if it's not already there, but it's going to reestablish these guys in a pretty unique way. And I think, you know, if you don't know who they are, you will after watching one show, and if you know who they are, you'll be very happy with it.
Jeremy, we have a question from Brian off of email. Will wrestlers from area NWA regional promotions be making appearances on the Wednesday night NWA TNA program?
Absolutely. You know, where you broadcast to right now, there are, you know, in the area itself are probably more fantastic wrestlers per square inch than any other place in the country.
Sure.
And we know who they are, and we have the tapes, and we've been there before. We've seen these guys. I know a lot of them personally, and a few I worked with in WCW. I would say there is a very, 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 I would say definitely, I was going to say good chance, but I will say definitely you're going to see people from the area that you broadcast to on our program. I'm not going to tell you any names specifically, but, you know, I think you'll be very happy with it.
Also, we have another question in regards to trying to get through the spell check here. Hold on one second. In regards to the style of wrestling, and this is from Chris in Carlisle, in regards to the style of wrestling we will see on Wednesday night, can you compare it to a WWF or an ECW, or is it going to be more traditional, more like the old school NWA style?
It's going to be what the name exactly says. It's going to be total nonstop action. We want to realize, or we do realize, that the attention span of a viewer, to no fault of their own, has never been at a shorter time. I mean, it's really something you got to keep the fans' interest the whole show, and you got to make it edgy. You got to make it, the matches need to be quick when they need to be quick, and they need to be long when they need to be long. We're in the business of doing short matches for the sake of doing short matches. We want to tell a story, and we are going to take as long as we want to tell that story, providing it provides the viewer with entertainment. The type of style, there are many different styles, obviously, and I think you're going to see a very, very wide selection of styles. We're not about this or that, or we're not Japanese. We're not, it's going to be a conglomerate, I think. A little something for everybody. Myself, I like to see a little bit of everything. There are fans out there who would like the specific styles. And you're going to see a little bit of everything, and I think that's going to be our appeal, there will be something in there for everybody.
Jeremy Borash joining us from NWA TNA here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. The first show, you've got Toby Keith on the program. You've got Sterling Marlin on the program. Are we going to see a lot of crossover between the entertainment and other sports fields on this program?
Well, and that's a good question about the use of celebrities, because, a lot of wrestling fans, and I was a part of WCW, so believe me, I know, celebrities... David Arquette, Brock, Master P. We had a lot of celebrities involved in WCW. There were, and let me cite this, there is a big difference between the way Mike Tyson was used and the way Chad Brock was used.
So are you giving me your word that at the end of the night on June 19th, Toby Keith will not be the NWA champion?
Well, no, actually, Toby's a little down their way. We're thinking cruiserweight belts, but no. I would say, the way that they're going to be involved, there's from a business standpoint, it's pretty simple. We're coming into this program needing the attention of the media.
Right.
We're coming in here hoping to grab the eye of Sports Center, hoping to grab the eye of any country radio station or NASCAR program, and there's dozens in every market.
Yep.
So really, by having Toby Keith on, we're appealing to every single country radio station out there who's talking about, hey, Toby Keith's going to be on TNA. What's he going to do when he's on, in the ring? That kind of thing may or may not be something the fans of wrestling care about, but we also need to draw in the non-wrestling fan. We need to bring him to the program. We need to hook him on the program and bring him back the next week. Same thing with Sterling Marlin. Right now NASCAR is bigger than football, for heaven's sake. So Sterling is a NASCAR points leader. I myself don't watch a lot of NASCAR, but I realized after going to my first race 2 weeks ago that there are an enormous amount of fans who like both NASCAR and wrestling. So that is the purpose behind it. We're also going to include them in the storylines in a way that is going to probably grab media from a larger standpoint, and getting our clips on the news or whatever we have to do to get the word out there is the goal behind that. We're going to put them in interesting storylines. We're not going to have them come out and sing 10 minutes of country music, because we realize that's not what exactly the fan wants to see. They're wanting to see wrestling. If they want to see that, they can tune on any country music program. But we're going to. I think that the thrill for us is going to be seeing these guys involved in our storylines, and done correctly, it can be tremendously beneficial.
Jeremy Borash joining us from NWA TNA. Now, right now, the plan is to air Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock, with the new program, a repeat encore presentation on Sundays at noon. The price is $9.95 each week.
Right.
I know there's been talk about maybe having a subscription service, a season ticket, if you will. Any news on that, or when can we expect an announcement about that?
Well, the way we're looking at this, too, and yes, there will be eventually season packages the same way you would buy NHL or anything else with some of the dishes, and I know In Demand offers that as well. No direct news to report to you, but we know that that's going to be formulated, very soon in our existence. The way people are asking, is this thing going to work or whatever? To me, it comes down to this. As a wrestling fan, and there was a month, several months, in fact, where I spent good money buying 3 different pay-per-views a month.
Right.
The way we're looking at this right now is that it will be packaged at a lower rate, so let's just say it's $34.95 to grab a figure out of nowhere. The rate itself, you pay that, you're getting literally 8 hours of original programming every month. You buy it from, another venue or another wrestling organization, and you're going to see one 3-hour program and just hope that it's good. Obviously, there's a lot more content we're going to be providing. We know that every time you lay down your money to see this program, we have to deliver, and there's no room for error in that. We know that to bring them back the next week, we've got to tell good stories, and so for us, it's going to be one of those things where we just, hopefully we'll make it affordable, and realizing that if you look at the big picture of this, what you're spending on it monthly is going to be the same thing.
and all the details available at the website, nwatna.com. Jeremy, before we let you go, I want to ask you about the other organization you've been working with lately, the World Wrestling All-Stars. They canceled their tour this month of the United Kingdom. I know they're hoping to bounce back later this year. Realistically, are they going to be able to?
Well, actually, we're going to Ireland and Germany in July, and we've actually already nearly sold out our Ireland show.
But you're done with pay-per-views for the time being, right?
Yeah, well, actually, Andrew McManus, who's the owner of the company, and Jeff has been a big part of the WWA. Pay-per-view is a very, very difficult thing to be part of, and Andrew has, I think, done the smart move and taken a step back from doing pay-per-view until Jeff Jarrett's promotion can get up and running. And in the meantime, he's going to focus on what he does best, and that's generating a pretty good heap of cash doing house shows all over the world. And that's, I think, a pretty smart business move on his behalf. And I think, I'm real proud to be part of the WWA and how far we've come along. So, yeah, those tours are going to be happening in July, and then looks like we're going to be going back out in October, November, and December.
Now, with yourself working for both organizations, I am assuming Jeff is still going to work for both companies. Down the line, is there a thought process of maybe combining the two or doing some crossover storylines or something like that?
Well, absolutely. I think I think we're all kind of hoping that if NWA TNA takes off like we're planning on, and it gets the worldwide distribution as far as television goes, and becomes the pay-per-view product in Australia and some of the markets we go to at the WWA, that, the group itself will be the NWA TNA wrestlers that we bring around the world, and possibly Andrew McManus kind of fulfilling a role as an international promoter. So that is kind of I think what both parties are working towards, and, if not, we can still draw great crowds in Australia with the names that we've been using. So it's kind of one of those things where they're going to work together and hopefully accomplish the same goal, which is, provide a place not only for the guys to work, but also, a second and kind of second and a half, 2.5 very successful wrestling companies. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do here, bringing those two together.
Again, Jeremy Borash joining us. NWA Total Nonstop Action kicks off June the 19th on all cable and satellite pay-per-view providers. Get the details at nwatna.com. Jeremy, thank you very much for your time. We'll do it again.
Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Jeremy Borash joining us. We're going to take a break. More when we come back on The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
And now back to The Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
One of Ohio's most popular game fish is the smallmouth bass. It's native to Ohio and found in all 88 counties. Hi, I'm Josiah Wade, and this is the Ohio Outdoor Notebook. May's a good month to go smallmouth fishing. They're most active at dawn. You can tempt them with aquatic insects, crayfish, and other fish. The typical smallmouth weighs around 2 pounds, but the state record was 9 pounds, 8 ounces. Try to beat that record by fishing streams with gravel or rock bottoms and good water quality. They also inhabit the reef areas and rocky shorelines of Lake Erie, especially the islands near Sandusky Bay. Smallmouth bass are yellow-green to olive-green with faint bars on the sides. The line of the mouth extends only to the rear border of the eye and not beyond like the largemouth bass. This is a public service of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and this station.
Every year, there are millions of pets in animal shelters across the country just waiting for a loving home. I'm Melanie Griffith with a very simple message. If you're thinking of getting a pet, please adopt. To easily locate your closest place to adopt, call PETS 911 toll-free at 1-888-PETS-911 or visit 1-888-PETS911.org. It's easy, it's free, and it gives a pet a second chance at life. Brought to you by PAWS.
Stan Freeberg here, inviting you to join me for the greatest sounds of the 20th century on When Radio Was.
So here he is, Jack Benny.
Here's a Philip Marlowe.
The smell of gun smoke.
When Radio Was, with your host Stan Freeberg, every weeknight at 9 o'clock on the station that's a part of your life, 910 WPFB.
910 WPFB forecast for the Sin-Day corridor. Tonight becoming partly cloudy with a low of 54 for your Thursday. Partly cloudy, chance of showers late, a high of 78. Right now it's 70. Take a lunch break with the best music of all time and Chick Watkins Monday through Friday from 2 to 4 right here on AM 910 WPFB. You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
My thanks to Jeremy Borash for joining us here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. Our toll-free number again, 866-910-9732. Write it down. I'm going to give away something in a minute. I know you're going to want that. It's free. You want it. Actually, I'll give away one now. Jay-Z, take the fifth caller again. We have our Judgment Day pay-per-view packs from our good friends at Time Warner Cable. And fifth caller, 866-910-9732, will get one of those Judgment Day packs, which has the T-shirt, it has the hacky sack, and it has the temporary tattoos, all for your enjoyment. Don't forget, AM 910 WPFB is now the home of the Radio Factor with Bill O'Reilly, 12 to 2 every weekday on AM 910 WPFB. Reset a couple things for you. Rey Mysterio Jr. will be a part of the World Wrestling Federation very soon, and before that, he was a part of the Heartland Wrestling Association. Ray will begin with the HWA beginning this weekend, and he'll be in town for the next couple of weeks. For details, go to hwaonline.com. A couple of shows coming up May the 25th. Violent Championship Wrestling will be at the Miami County Fairgrounds. Details available at violentchampionshipwrestling.com. Unified Championship Wrestling will be at the 798 Union Hall, downtown Dayton. Tickets available at Gym City Records, and more details will be available on the Wrestling Guys hotline. I'll mention that for you in just a minute. Also, coming up on Saturday, June the 29th, a free show presented by the Wrestling Guys in the city of Moraine at the Moraine Heritage Festival, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Heartland Wrestling Association will be in action. Again, a completely free event outside at the Moraine Heritage Festival, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And for details, you will be able to get that at hwaonline.com. And one other show happening, I believe it's June the 1st. Where's my calendar? You're supposed to have my calendar here anyway. The first Saturday in June, Outlaw Championship Wrestling, I believe that's June 1st. Outlaw Championship Wrestling has their 4th anniversary show, and details available at 937-229-8189. Jay-Z's still learning how to write that winner's name down. So, we're trying with him. We're working really hard, aren't we? He is that guy. Yes, he is. Reset a couple of other things for you. China, Joni Laurer, she's replacing John Wayne Bobbitt this upcoming Tuesday on Celebrity Boxing 2. Again, she is in her 15th minute of her 15 minutes of fame. Watch her this Tuesday on Celebrity Boxing 2 as she fights Joey Buttafuoco. You know what the scary thing is? Everybody's thinking, oh, John Wayne Bobbitt had to drop out, so they went out and got her. There was a plan in place for her to appear on the 3rd Celebrity Boxing to fight the winner of Buttafuoco and Bobbitt. So now Bobbitt's out, so they were going ahead and speeding that up. So don't think that Wonder Woman script's coming in anytime soon for Joni. WWE Women's Champion, former Women's Champion Jazz is going to be out 4 to 6 months due to torn ACLs, suffered during a basketball game. A house show coming to Cincinnati on June the